all these things are all taken care of so that you're not dealing with them when you're on a storm site.
All the resources are being sucked up. You can't even buy gas. And literally, you're not taking a bath for 30 days.
Matt used to hate facial hair, but then it grew on him.
The #1 resource for damage identification books, trainings, and certifications is Hague Education. Not only that, but they provide building inspection and desk adjuster trainings and certifications for those as well. Get a discount on all books, tools, certifications, and other trainings with code AdjusterTV at checkout at hagueeducation.com. I always found that once the storm season was over, and I was like, probably not going to get any more storms. I mean, occasionally stuff would pop up, late season windstorm or whatever. But I would be up at 5 o'clock in the morning every morning for like maybe a week, half a week, and then I'd start to sleep in it. It usually took like 2 solid weeks before I fully came down from like the storm intensity, And then after that, it was like, then you had to like, once another storm happened, then you had to like get back into it. And
exactly. Well, and then the longer you take off, you kind of lose some of that edge a little bit.
Yeah.
But you get right back to it. So
yeah, and that's when there's time off. To your point about training, you got to keep your skills sharp.
Decompress. But if you, let's say, Christmas is the end of November to generally the 1st of January. It's the slowest component in cat season.
Yeah,
you'll have some winter storms that will start to occur, but even the carriers may not push those claims out until January because the holidays. Just take the time, decompress. If you have education that you need to get taken care of, get it taken care of.
Yeah.
That's the perfect time. There's times in the year. The end of May is always kind of a gap between a hailstorm and hurricane season.
Yeah.
Or hailstorms. So take those small windows. You're going to have them off. Just because you're finished one here doesn't mean you're getting ready to start another one. So you got to take the time when you can.
Yeah. And take the dogs to the vet.
Yeah.
Get them, make sure the vehicle's, any major service is done.
Yeah.
You've gone to the doctor if you need to for whatever, all these things you're all taken care of so that you're not dealing with them when you're on a storm site. So that you get blindsided by, whatever.
And if you got to take so we in our family we have we call them none of your business days.
Yeah.
So my kids would always go, Dad, what are we doing? What are we doing? Just drive you nuts. And so we would say, okay, from now on, if we're going to do something as a family, we're going to have a none of your business day. And if I say we're having a none of your business, you can't ask, or we won't do it. And so they would go, Dad, what are we doing today? We're having a none of your business day. All right. And then they wouldn't ask me another thing. And we would always go do something fun. Go to the zoo, we'd go to the beach, do something fun.
Sure.
So that they learned long. And so to this day, they're 27 down to 17 still, hey, can we do a none of your business day?
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's a great idea. None of your business. Just get in the car.
Yeah, let's go. Just get in the car. Don't ask. You can ask.
Bring your snorkel. Grab the...
Yeah. What are we doing? It's none of your business. You're not supposed to ask.
It's none ya.
None ya.
Anything else you want to talk about?
Oh, I'm sure there's a lot of stuff I want to talk about. But
anything that you wanted to talk about? Not that, outside of like the scripted things we're going to do later.
No, I think we've hit on a lot. We've hit on a lot of stuff.
Oh yeah, we've covered quite a bit of ground.
I think at the end of the day, we've just spent a good segment on keeping your sanity and not getting overwhelmed. And the one thing we didn't really talk about is becoming a victim and making yourself a victim of a storm. I have this thing about when I hire adjusters to go work hurricanes. Immediately, everybody wants to be like Joe Cantore and just go and get in the middle of the storm. If you want to do that, I'm not going to stop you from doing that. I've done a lot of it, and I would rather never have to do that again. And so I put adjusters on standby. I will say I will give you work. I'm not going to give you work till after the event because I'm not going to make you a victim of the event.
Right.
So you get there, get set up, get what you need to do. Don't have an expectation you're going to go out and work in the middle of that storm. I don't want to see your face on the news. I don't want to hear about the victim that you became. Also, you can become displaced, and you do me no good when you go there.
Do you really have adjusters that want to go during the storm?
Oh yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
I mean,
They can't help it.
half the time you can't even look at the house after the storm because the tree's still
You
on
can't
it.
even get to it. Yeah. So, it happens. And so, you're
Go-getters.
yeah, they're great. And I do appreciate a lot of them. It's just, you do not want to be in the middle of that when it goes through, because you have
No.
all these people leaving, all the resources are being sucked up. You can't even buy gas.
Right.
And then you get down
Can't
there.
go to Taco Bell.
The other thing that people don't realize, when you go down in some of these disaster areas, you have a spare tire. You're going to get a flat.
Oh, big time. Yeah.
Yeah. So, they don't even think about it. Like,
Yeah,
okay,
tire repair kit.
and then what are you doing for fuel? You better have some backup fuel. Carry a couple of fuel cells with you, 5 gallons or more. And, that becomes a commodity. And people will rob you for that. So you got to be careful.
Yeah.
Things to know when these big events happen.
I never liked going on hurricanes because it was just so much of that. And hail was always my bread and butter. I mean, it was like,
hail's not so bad, but I mean,
nobody's dead. Nobody had to be evacuated.
Tornadoes can be just as devastating.
Oh,
You have
for
a
sure.
tornado
Or
outbreak.
fires.
Yeah, fires. But tornadoes, can do big areas, especially big outbreaks up to the upper Midwest. And, you might have a couple of hundred that go through an area. They're not big impact areas, but they do such a broad spectrum of damage. And then you have hail with it. And so you're going in these areas, be prepared.
Yeah.
So.
And also be prepared to not find a hotel within 2 hours of the flames.
Yeah. Or cell phone service. Yeah. It's going to be disrupted.
When I was on Katrina, I had to drive 2 hours one way, twice a day. And my front of my truck was covered in dead love bugs, and it was there's no restaurants, there's no nothing.
One of the offices we had an office set up in Houma, Lafayette, and then Covington, and we were lucky enough to find space. So they'd rent you the space. Problem is, you didn't have power, and so we'd bring generators in and we set stuff up, and literally you're not taking a bath for 30 days.
Ooh.
Or you're bathing in a sink because it's the only running water that you have. It's bad. Yeah. And people don't realize that. And you've made yourself a victim because you can't, there's no place to eat. You have to go out of this area to get back into it. It's like you said, you may set up in a cot. We were lucky when we would set up little generation stands and stuff like that. But then we'd have to set up guards because people would come and try to steal the generation.
Right.
Or if you had fuel, we had one storm, we had to set up a fuel truck, and we actually had to put an armed guard in it, and the police and everybody would try to come and take the fuel. Yes.
Police try to come.
Well, and then FEMA would, the National Guard would commandeer it.
Right.
Those are horror stories, and that they happen.
Yeah.
But the things is when you have these major cataclysmic events, there are things that you have to prepare for. Yeah. And just running into that event without pre-planning, you're making yourself a victim, and you're just exposing yourself to a lot of things you shouldn't do.
Yeah, and the infrastructure is definitely down. It's a little bit shocking the first time you drive into an area that's been devastated by a hurricane. The median's got boats and cars and stuff piled up in it. The Home Depot, the front of the Home Depot you could see all the way throughout the back from the road, because the Home Depot got blown out. And give me a hailstorm.
Yeah. Find a Waffle House if it's still functioning, you start there.
right, exactly. But the flip side to the people that really want to be the early bird and get the worm, and they're storms, they're trying to show up all the storms coming. The flip side to that is that sometimes people will, and with these last storms, this is the advice I gave them. You tell me if this was wrong or right or whatever. But they would say, well, I put on standby for this company or these companies, and then so-and-so called. And so should I wait? They got deployed, right?
Right.
Should I wait until I have claims to head down there? What if, because I heard some people were getting deployed and then not getting claims, and they drove and had to drive home.
Yeah.
I told them, I said, get your butt down there, because even if you're the person sitting there and something else happens somewhere else, or there's some other opportunity pops up and you're right in front of the guy who's making that decision, you're in person, he's going to send you. Right. Or he can send you, right? So don't wait till you have claims in hand. But the hurricane ain't real until you've got claims in hand. So it's kind of It's a little bit of
So
touchy.
I kind of, I mean, I don't necessarily disagree with that. What I say is, if you've been deployed, if it's pre-storm, I'd be cautious about going in the area.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
If you've been deployed and it's post-storm, you need to get there as quick as you can.
Yeah.
And that's just plain and simple. Don't wait.
Yeah.
And
no matter what.
Then you still may get there and, oh, well, we didn't need you. That still happens.
Yes.
But you were deployed to that site. You need to go to that site.
Yeah.
And then, like you said, other opportunities always present themselves if you're around and if you know where to look. It goes back to networking.
Right, right.
So if you know where to network, you become a member of NACA. We can help you with that.
That's exactly right. Yeah. Become a member.
Shameless plug for NACA.
Yeah.
So yeah, but there's you have lots of resources out there and learn to use them.
Yeah, there are a lot of resources out there.
Yeah. So
all right, let's go.
Thank you, sir. It's been great.
Yeah. 81 minutes.
And we went a long time.
Yeah, we got.
Are you awake over there?
You know, there's nothing wrong with being motivated by high income, but if that's all you're after, you're in for a rude awakening. Find out why in this next video right here.